He fell asleep in New Jersey before the bombs hit the ground. Broadcasting from a bomb shelter, he is the nuclear clown.
Do you like sand? Do you think that metal is highly overrated and prefer bone, obsidian, or even wooden weapons? Do you thrive in temperatures in excess of 125 degrees? Do you condone slavery, despise arcane magics, and desire the rule of an iron-fisted sorcerer king? Then boy do I have the setting for you. Dark Sun 4th edition is out, and it's loud and proud. And I gotta tell you, I like it a whole bunch. Dark Sun 4th edition. It's one of those settings that I never really got into. When I was coming up through 2nd edition Dungeons and Dragons. Just, I don't know why. I mean, I have a lot of the older box sets like Birthright, Ravenloft, and Glantry and stuff like that. But for some reason, Dark Sun, we never crossed paths really. And so when they announced that they were doing 4th edition, I was very excited because I knew what Dark Sun was about pretty much. I knew it basically, but I hadn't actually ever played it before. So I was really excited, and I was not disappointed. It was pretty cool because not knowing much about it, all the information is new to me. So it's like, even though it's been around forever, to me, it's like a brand new campaign setting. And I think that it's really, really very good. And one of the big things about it that I personally like is I've never liked the settings that seem kind of generic. Like I always thought Forgotten Realms was just way too cookie cutter fantasy setting. And you know, same with Greyhawk. There wasn't really anything to draw me into it. Dragonlance also, I don't know. It all seemed too generic, and I think when you're one of the cool things about D&D is that there's so many different worlds you can play in, and they should all kind of have their own flavor. So I was a big fan of Ravenloft, which was like, you know, gothic D&D with you know, castles and party fair during Halloween time with the costumes and whatnot. And Birthright was cool. You know, it had you played a king and you ruled a kingdom, and it was different. It had its own flavor. Planescape was pretty neat too, though I didn't really get too heavily into that. Well, and then there was Spelljammer, which was in space, and you fought hamsters and shit. And there's a limit to what's different and cool. And yeah, Spelljammer just blew right past that limit. So I never got into that. But anyway, my point is, I like the D&D settings that have their own flavor to them. And for those of you who don't know, Dark Sun it's kind of like if you take like a Fallout or Mad Max and do it in D&D times, it's Dark Sun, but less corny than that sounds. You know, the world was ravaged by magic. The careless use of arcane magic destroyed the world and turned it into a sand-covered wasteland, much like my love life. Though I do have some problems with Dark Sun 4th edition. Not many, but they are there, and I would be I would not be honest if I didn't voice these concerns. They did a campaign guide and a monster book specifically for Dark Sun, because a lot of the typical animals, you know, there's no horses, there's no cows and stuff like that, so they needed to do pretty much a whole new ecology for the world, which they did with the monster book, which I think if any setting warrants its own monster book, Dark Sun is it, and they did it, which I liked. Still pretty expensive. The campaign book is $40. The monster book is $20. So you're looking at $60 if you want to get them both. However, I highly recommend you go pick this stuff up on Amazon, because they always have fantastic prices on D&D stuff. The monster book was about, I believe, $13, and the campaign guide you can get for around $30. So you're saving some serious money when you buy D&D books from Amazon, and it's well appreciated. But about the books themselves, these are them, and this is them side by side. Now you may think, Dave, what are you trying to say here? If you take away the cover, this really should be one book. The Dark Sun campaign setting guide is 222 pages, and the monster book is 143 pages. So you mash that all together, and that's 365 pages. This should be one book. It could be one book, easily. But I understand they have to make money and all that good stuff. But it's a little bit frustrating, I think, when they could have done something in one volume, but they don't, and they release it as two. Because personally, it's a big turnoff for me as a gamer to go to a game session lugging around like 6 books. If you want to make a character in Dungeons, and it's always been like this, don't get me wrong, but as the editions kind of rolled out, there got to be more and more like necessity books, I guess you could say, especially with them now on their 3rd player's handbook. I'm just saying. So it being 2 books, it could have been 1. I feel they could have squeezed it together, but you know, again, it's a minor complaint. And I do like that it has its own monster manual. I'm not gonna bitch about that because I think it's definitely warranted for a setting this kind of different. Also, I picked up the Deserts of Athis tiles because I never bought any tiles or anything like that, but I wanted to see what they were about. I wanted to give them a try, you know, because as much as I think that the whole miniature aspect of the game and its focus on it really detaches the you know, the kind of drama going on in your head, it is cool to see, like, you know, oh wow, my power does this, and to actually see results. It is neat. It is neat. It's not what I prefer, but you know, it does work to an extent. So I bought the Deserts of Athis tiles, and you know, they're pretty neat. They've got some 3D terrain and stuff like that. A little house with a staircase that goes up to the roof for no reason. It's like a little hut and then a staircase that just goes up to the top, so you could walk up and get work on your tan and die in the 130 plus degree heat. Yeah, so one thing kind of cracked me up, right? Deserts of Athis, right? Deserts of Athis. Yet so many of the tiles on the back are water, like streams and coast. Like if you put it all together, their little example is like a pier and a boat in water and a fucking shore. Like it's on a shore. It's not like an oasis, like a little pool, you know, palm tree or something like that. Nothing like that. We're talking like a bay, you know, and I don't know, if you look at the map of Athis, not a lot of water. I thought I picked up Deserts of Athis, not like beautiful sandy beaches of Athis. One thing about Dark Sun, the Dark Sun setting, since metal is really, really uncommon, it's really hard to come by. So they use bone weapons and wood weapons and obsidian weapons and all that kind of crap. And I think it's really, really neat. But they have an optional rule for weapon breakage, which I think they give you 2 options, and they're both pretty crappy. One of them is, if you roll a 1, your goddamn weapon breaks. And that's it. Buy a new weapon. I think that's really crappy, because I don't know about you, but I roll 1s all the goddamn time. The second rule is kind of weird. If you roll a 1, you can choose to re-roll that attack again, and like if you fail the second roll, then your weapon breaks. Or like if you roll a 1, you can just say, okay, I botch and not risk it. But in my opinion, if you roll a 1, you should never have a chance to like hit. So it's like, all right, not only did I miss, but I rolled a 1. So all right, I'll risk breaking my weapon, you know, to try to get a hit. That doesn't really make too much sense to me. I thought of a rule. I'll be using a rule that I thought up, which I think makes way more sense. It's called breakability ratings. Every weapon has a breakability rating from 1 to 5. And most of your average gear, like shit in the book that you can buy, has a breakability of 5. So when you roll a 1, you roll a d20 again. Kind of like if you threat, old school or 3rd edition if you threat. So if you roll a 1, you roll it again. If you roll equal to or lower than your weapon's breakability, then it breaks. I think that works out, because then, since magic items are so rare, you can say, all right, well, you find a bone short sword. Oh, well, I'm already using a bone short sword. Yeah, but this one is very well made, and it has a breakability of 2, as opposed to your weapon that has a breakability of 5. I think that way you can kind of throw in superior quality weapons without giving away magic. One thing I wish they would have done is the races are so vastly different than what you're used to. Just the basic things about them. The elves are portrayed differently. Elves are like, really very tall and, seen as like thieves and gypsies kind of. They're not trusted by anyone. That's great. They have, the races and how they differ kind of. But you use the same stats. So it's like, all right, so the elves in Athis are so different than normal elves, yet they use the same ability modifiers, they get the same stuff. I would have really liked to see them really just, totally redo the races and really make them unique. And it felt kind of weird with these new takes on these races, yet you're using the same old information. For me, it kind of, I don't know, it took away from the uniqueness of the setting if you're using the same rules for the races. But again, it's not that big of a deal. It's not like there's anything vastly offensive, but it would have been nice. Again, I think it would have pulled you into the setting a bit more. And one thing I never got, really, Arcane Magic is bad, and if you're an Arcane Magic practitioner, you better keep it secret or they're going to hang you. So, there's not a lot of magic items in the world because of that. But, the Scion in Player's Handbook 3, which is a Psionic class, and Dark Sun is huge with Psionics, the Scion gets ritual casting for free at level 1. And, 4th level ritual is, create magic item. So I don't see why. It's like, all right, there's Arcane Magic is bad, so not a lot of people practice it. So there's not a lot of magic items. But why aren't there psionic items? I don't know. I never really got that. But whatever. It's easy to explain. Just say, well, just say, duh. And everything's better. Everything's better when you say, duh. Dark Sun 4th Edition. They did a darn good job, and I'm very pleased with it. And I think if you're looking for something different, maybe if you really like the traditional fantasy setting, you probably will have a hard time wrapping your head around this. But I'm sure that if you have any interest in Dark Sun at all, you kind of know what to expect. And I think it's really, really good. I love its flavor. I love that it stands out. I love that it's different. And I'm surprised that Wizards of the Coast really redid this game. I mean, I don't recall it really making a tremendous amount of money. I mean, I was shocked when I saw that they were going to bring Dark Sun in the 4th edition. I thought for sure they'd do, like a Dragonlance or something that had sold so many more, books or merchandise or was more well known. But I was pleasantly surprised, and they did not let me down with Dark Sun 4th edition. So, let's get together sometime and we'll buy slaves and we'll make them do horrible, horrible things to us. Horrible things. So many horrible things.